is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our three sports-loving ladies. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
This is Helmets and Heels
on 1010XL.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
We have to kick off the show with our congratulations on the retirement to our good friend Gene Fernet. As everyone who just listened to Jaguars Today heard Gene talk about all of his experiences, it was wonderful to listen to all of those. I was born in Jacksonville, obviously raised in Jacksonville. So for me, growing up, the Times-Union was read by my parents every single day, and certainly I feel like all day on the weekends. There were crossword puzzles done. There were political stories read, certainly everything about Jacksonville. And, of course, Gene Fernet's column there in the sports section. And the fact that it's been there for my entire life and it's not going to be moving forward is crazy. I've never known a world of sports in Jacksonville without Gene Fernet being at least a part of the Times-Union.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and I think that's one of the best parts about Jacksonville is as big as it is, like we talk about the landmass-wise, it does have that small town feeling in certain aspects, and I think the sports world is part of that. Obviously, the Jaguars coming in the mid-'90s, and for most of us my age, that's what we know. Like when we were 4 and 5 years old, 3, 4, 5, you found out you're getting the Jaguars, and the world kind of started there for you in the football world in Jacksonville. But it does just have that when somebody retires or someone goes to cover a different organization or they go cover a different sport, whatever it may be, because we've had several of those throughout the years, it always feels a little extra because it is so small town feeling here of people that you grew up listening and watching and reading and all of that. So it always, and I'm sure for people, I was never the biggest newspaper reader. That wasn't me personally, but my grandparents for sure. My grandparents and my parents every single day, that's what you did. And it was just a part of the daily routine growing up at that point.
And it's wild because, my rival, Gene Fernet, I'm just kidding, Gene. I know you're listening as you drive away from 1010XL headquarters, much like myself, is not originally from the city of Jacksonville, but has certainly endeared himself as a New England native to so many. And it's insane to think, especially between him and, Tim Deegan's going to be retiring from First Coast News in May as well. And these are guys who are not from here. They moved here in the 80s and they never left. And that...
It also seems to happen a lot.
Yes.
People come to Jacksonville and
a
stay
lot of
in
Jaguars players.
Yes.
Right, exactly.
Look at Tony Baselli.
And in doing so, to then endear yourselves and to be so woven into the fabric of a community, it's a testament to not only a job well done on the journalism front, but also on just being a good human being. And yes, maybe Gene will finally unblock me now. That's my only request as he sails and rides off into the sunset of retirement.
Look, I think if you can vividly remember articles that people write, that means that you've done a really good job and invested into the people that you're writing about, but also you've woven that story and told such great stories. And that's what I think Gene's legacy for me. Well, it's not so much the hot takes on sports necessarily and those opinions. For me, it's always been the really good behind-the-scenes look into what people are going through. And look, a few years ago, he had the story about Tom Coughlin's wife, Judy, and that Tom was the caretaker throughout her battle with dementia. And that, I think, gave people extra light into what Tom has been dealing with. And we of course know Tom as the head coach. We know Tom as a Super Bowl winning head coach, as the guy that patrolled the sidelines with an iron fist. We also know him as the J Fund, the creator of the J Fund. But there was this whole other element of his life, this whole other world of his life where he's a caretaker for Judy, and he did such a phenomenal job with that. And so that's just one of the many stories that Gene has done that I feel like you got to know people better through his writing. And that's the best thing, at least I can say, about a columnist.
Yeah, that's some of my favorite articles and things to read also. And I do think we live in a world now where sometimes it feels oversaturated because information is so, like, growing up, you didn't get to just hop on your phone and Google the information you needed. That is you went to the paper, you went to the magazines and things like that. And so growing up in a world where we still had that, and mine was like right on the verge of things changing, of when I really started getting, the internet started coming around when I was in high school, popular, where you're actually hopping on the computer after school. But there was a lot of time where it's not. And so for a lot of people in this city, that was all of the information they were getting. It was getting that newspaper out of their driveways.
For sure. I'll never forget, I was in my freshman choir class, and the teacher said, raise your hands. There were probably 50, 75 kids in there. It was a big class. Raise your hands if you know what the internet is. And like 3 kids raised their hands. So this would have been like 1996. And I was not one of the kids that raised their hands. I was like, I don't know what that is. And then, of course, like a year later, it exploded and certainly changed our world. I joked with Jean off air. I said, my mom would tell you that she's busier now in retirement than she was when she worked a full-time job. Yeah. So you don't necessarily...
My grandpa may say the same thing, actually.
So you don't necessarily sit around and do nothing and annoy your spouse all the time. There's lots of things to do, certainly volunteering being a main one for a lot of people. All right, let's get to the Jaguars. The news came out from Jeremy Fowler earlier today. I don't think it was shocking news by any means, but the Jaguars will not pick up the 5th-year option for linebacker Devin Lloyd. The reason it's not shocking is they already had the option to pick up his option when they picked up Trayvon Walker's 5th-year option. And when asked about it, Liam Cohen basically said, well, we need to learn more about the player. Mm-hmm. Well, you have the same exact time to learn about Trayvon Walker. So why didn't you do obviously the answer really was, no, we're not going to pick it up, but I'm not going to tell you that right now.
Yeah. And I had to ask the question.
Sure.
Because we needed to know, but I think that, yes, it was certainly a sign of the times of if you haven't actually had Trayvon Walker in the facility, and certainly I think he was in the facility at different points during the offseason, and I would like to believe Devin Lloyd was as well, but not in a full-time capacity in the offseason program. Why pick up his 5th-year option and not Devin Lloyd's? I think an interesting part of it, too, that needs to be noted is this idea of the 5th-year option, what the tag price number would be for both if you were to pick it up comparatively to what you could pay Devin Lloyd if he does have a great 4th season here in Jacksonville, and if you could come to some sort of compromise compared to what the open market is currently deeming is the asking price for top-of-the-line linebackers, and if he actually falls into that field, if you may, and where he falls into it.
Yeah, and I think that when we had this conversation originally, I said, maybe it depends what happens in the draft, and then the draft comes and 2 linebackers get taken, and so that does make you feel like they maybe wanted to have some other options. And we've talked about the amount of competition that they've added between free agency and the draft and how that may affect things. And so we will see as time goes. I also feel like we haven't quite seen the perfect fit, the perfect place for Devin Lloyd in the defenses that he's been here. So maybe Coach Camp does find the charm. Yeah, like maybe Coach Camp comes in and does find a place where it works for Devin Lloyd, and then we are talking about some sort of contract extension next year. But I do think I don't think anybody's shocked in this move whatsoever.
So what's interesting, and this is from the Jaguars in-house video team, they released the video calls of all of the draft picks being selected and who spoke with them. Obviously makes all the sense in the world to have Anthony Campanelli speaking with Jalen McLeod. The idea of Tem Lakabu, who is the linebackers coach, speaking with Jalen McLeod was a little bit interesting to me, just because I think so many of us were like, oh, he's going to be a primary edge rusher. He'll be edge 4, if you may, if he beats out Miles Cole, which the expectation, given when they selected him, and from Mike Silver's great piece from The Athletic, certainly James Gladstone and company are high on the Auburn product.
And Emmanuel Ogba, too, now.
And Emmanuel, he's edge 3. I'm saying edge 4.
Yeah, behind
Emmanuel Ogba is edge 3. Let's get that out there, Lauren. Put the narrative out there. Point being, I think that it was interesting for me to hear Tem talk to him, because then if he is going to play more of that buck linebacker role, that off-ball linebacker, chess piece, if you may, that he played at Auburn, then where does that leave Devin Lloyd? And once again, we go back to this idea of what did he do well at Utah? He certainly could affect the quarterback on designated blitzes. Are you going to line him up on the edge? I don't know. But they lined him one time against the Cleveland Browns on the first play of the game in the A-gap, and he just goes screeching like a bat out of hell through the offensive line.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying you need to make him a designated pass rusher, but what I am saying is that Devin Lloyd is at his best when you tell him, you do this.
Yeah.
This is the one thing I need you to do. Maybe this is the staff that finally does that and is able to find a role for him that way, whether it's, on second down, we're going to line you up in the A-gap, or maybe we do line you up in a wide 9 and you're just going to go get the quarterback. Or, hey, it's a run play. Just clog it up and be the great run defender that we know you are, and utilize that sure tackling ability. And of course, and we talked about this yesterday with regards to Jack Kaiser, Taylor, and we're going to have Malik Zaire on at 1 o'clock. This idea of Devin Lloyd's inability to read pre-snap and Jack Kaiser being one of the best college linebackers last year at doing that, and how that will free up Foye Oluokun potentially, coupled with the continued growth of Ventrell Miller. And so then, yes, at that point in time, Devin Lloyd's basically a Sam linebacker. But at the very least, if you only give him one assignment, then you don't have to worry about Foye trying to line him up in the right place. And Devin Lloyd has to be thinking about 3 different potential areas of the field he may have to go to.
Yeah, I do think they were trying to do way too much with a player that needed to be kind of central focused on one thing. And when you look at his numbers from last year, his pressure rate was good. His run stop was good. His tackling, he had really good tackling when it comes to like not a ton of missed tackles and stuff like that. It was all the coverage that hurt. And it was, I glanced earlier, it was like almost 500 yards, 5 touchdowns. He allowed almost 12 yards per catch and like almost 400 yards after contact. That's stuff that can't happen. That you need that linebacker that's going to be able to handle that type of thing. And I will talk to Malik about kind of that area of what Jack Kaiser can do and maybe the role that he will play, because he did a lot of different things on Notre Dame's defense. I'm not quite sure where the Jags see him here, and I tweeted that when he was drafted. But I do think that is part of it. I think they're looking at Devin Lloyd's game and saying, okay, this guy can be good at one thing, but the linebackers nowadays have to be good at multiple things.
I think this staff looked at the roster from last year and said, where can we eliminate slow playing? And not to say that the players themselves are slow, but in the schemes that they were in, whether it's offense or defense, they played slowly. We talked about that with Jarian Jones. We've talked about that with Devin Lloyd as well. And so I'm not saying that they thought Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram were slow, but I think just for what they want to do in their scheme, they weren't going to play fast enough offensively. And I think Devin Lloyd, to this point, maybe it'll change this year with a new scheme, has played slowly, and that's not something that they want on their team moving forward.
Well, and I think it's because his head's in a beehive, in the words of Quincy Williams, another great Jaguars linebacker. Shout out to the All-Pro, because that's what Quincy said after his rookie year. And again, look, when Dave drafted him, no one knew Telvin Smith was going off the deep end. Like, Quincy was expected to have a little bit of a runway, and instead it was, okay, week 1 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Get on out there, converted safety. And I think it bears fruit and is true for any player at any position as you come in as a rookie. And ultimately, and this is probably more of a question for Coach Campo, this idea of when the going gets tough, we always hear coaches say, well, we're going to simplify things. We're going to ask less, not less, because we're still going to expect your best, but we're going to make it more direct of, hey, this is all I need you to do. Hey, simply go back to fundamentals and tackling. And I'm curious, because at one point last year we joked about it. We were like, okay, like if you're that simplified, what is there left to simplify? Yeah. Like if it truly is simply see ball, get ball, or see rusher, go get the rusher. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I think we talked about that too with Miles Jack. I remember when Miles Jack got the green dot and everyone was like, was it too much?
Yes.
Was it kind of slowing down the instincts because he was having to worry about so many other things? And there's very few players in the NFL in general that can do everything and be able,
and also be
Devin
telling,
Lloyd obviously doesn't have that green dot. I'm not saying that, but just in the fact of having to do and control too much for some players, it does need to be, the defense simplified in general, but their role simplified sometimes helps them excel in the things they're the best at.
You shouldn't have to simplify after the season, by the way. It should be that everything builds as the season goes along.
Adjustments during the season would have been nice. But.
And I still don't know to this day, and maybe a player in the not in the near future, at some point down the line will tell us in December 2023 when Doug Peterson stressed that they were getting back to fundamentals and they were going to simplify things, what exactly that was. But I think a huge part of this too, and that's why I think for Devin Lloyd, the instruction needs to be very direct, and it needs to be, you are doing this one thing on this one play. And on the next play, you're doing this one thing, because then it frees up Foye Oluokun to not have to be telling people where they should be lining up on the field so that he can do his job too.
Yeah.
What's fascinating is with that number 2 overall pick, how much are they going to ask him to do? We will hear from Travis Hunter on the other side, and a fun interview, at least fun as far as Travis's perspective, on defending Jacksonville. About dang time we have a player doing that. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010X on 92.5 FM.
When you want breaking sports news, tune in to 1010XL.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Or any of our social channels at 1010XL.
Satisfied?
Interested in a unique date night? Gibby here. I took my wife Nikki to Wick a Candle Bar. She made her own custom candle right there in the store. Shop local at Wick a Candle Bar. Locations in San Marco and Jacks Beach.
Lauren Brooks here. It's the Cruise in the Summer event at Hodges Mazda at the Avenues. For a limited time, get up to $5,000 off a new 2024 Mazda CX-50 Preferred and receive a free 5-day cruise for 2 with your purchase. With off-road capability and this special offer, your summer adventure starts now. Hurry, 2024 Mazda CX-50 Preferred models are in limited supply at Hodges Mazda. Offer valid on new 2024 Mazda CX-50 Preferred only. MSRP $32,564. Must trade in a vehicle and finance through dealer to qualify for discount. Cruise and vehicle availability limited. Travel taxes and fees additional. See dealer for details.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes here with a challenge. A challenge might not be the best choice in words, so let's say an opportunity. Take the opportunity to lose 40 by the 4th with Awaken 180. It sounds a little different when you put a real goal to it, doesn't it? Maybe you looked at the scale this morning and it read 230 pounds. How about it reading 190 by the 4th? Maybe the scale says 300. Wouldn't the number 260 be a little nicer on your eyes and on your joints? It's attainable if you have the same results we all had with Awaken 180. I dropped 40 pounds in 9 weeks. Hacker dropped his first 40 in just 6 weeks. Dempsey, Blue, and everyone else I know, same results. And we've kept it off. The best thing about Awaken 180 weight loss, it will completely change the way you think, see, and feel about food. The results are real, attainable, and the process simple with Awaken 180. Take the opportunity and drop 40 by the 4th. It all starts with just one call to Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Call 844-346-1800 or online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Hey, I'm Tony from Tony D's Pizza. People ask me all day long, is it the water that makes the difference? Well, yes and no. Even water can't make a good pizza. It's the ingredients, too. The best tomatoes, the best flour, and the best cheese. Oh, and a lot of love. Tony D's New York Pizza, Bay Meadows and 295.
It's a Helmets and Heels Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialist is now offering ortho walk-in appointments. If you have an immediate need for orthopedic care, contact Southeast Orthopedic Specialist immediately. Avoid ERs and urgent care waiting rooms. For more information, go to se-ortho.com.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
It's game time for your business, and Advanced Business Solutions has the winning play. With Xerox copiers, you'll never miss a deadline. Fast, reliable, and built for high performance, Xerox copiers keep your team ahead of the competition. From printing to scanning, Xerox brings the MVPs of efficiency to your office. Ready to make the winning move? Hire the champions at Advanced Business Solutions. Veteran owned.
Printers, copiers, and IT management. Advanced Business Solutions.
Give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish. And he's listening to the Nimnicht Outdoor Show.
With tips and stories.
Presented by Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning.
Every Saturday morning, 7 to 10.
On 1010XL.
Why is the Dead Sea so named? The answer next.
Southern Oak Insurance is proud to continue offering coverage statewide. Financial stability makes Southern Oak Insurance a wise choice for your homeowner's insurance needs. Log on to southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
The Dead Sea is 9 times saltier than any other sea, which means no living creature can actually live there.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
North Florida is growing with lots of new families joining our community. If you're one of them making the move here, your next move should be a call to American Electrical to create the best home automation system, enhancing your living experience. There are many ways your life can be made easier through smart home technology, voice-activated systems, automated lighting, total house temperature control. With American Electrical, they've got everything you need to automate your home and make it your true oasis. Check out American-Electrical.com, powered by professionalism and raising the excellence bar.
Right now, they're on their way to disrupt your life, make you uncomfortable, and rob you. Don't bother calling the police. They can't help. That's right. Summer heat and humidity are about to attack North Florida again. You know what to do. Call Mike Merritt. Mike Merritt's Heating and Air has a license to chill. When heat and humidity are attacking you, Mike Merritt provides a comfortable chill at a bargain price. Mike has been keeping North Florida comfortable for 30 years. Mike Merritt technicians are never paid commissions, meaning you'll never be pressured to buy something you don't need. And Mike Merritt knows cooling issues can arise anytime. They don't just happen during business hours. So Mike Merritt never charges overtime fees. When you need us, we're here for you. Remember, in the fight against heat and humidity, Mike Merritt has a license to chill. Visit merrittair.com. Florida license number CACO 50384.
Summer in Jacksonville is coming in hot. Lauren Brooks here. Beat the heat with Turbo Tint. Their window tint blocks up to 99% of harmful UV rays and keeps your ride cool and comfortable. Book today at orangepark.turbotint.com.
Warm weather means the beach, fishing, golf, and more. Make sure to drop into Daly's and grab a cold case to go. From Bud Light to their seltzer, from Mick Ultra to Modelo, or your favorite crafts like Old City or Sweetwater. Grab and go at your local Daly's.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
I won't say out loud that no one should ever cover wide open spaces.
It's kind of like we actually were reliving like old school American Idol in the office earlier today, and like Wide Open Spaces was one. Or a couple others that like they were like just If I Ain't Got You by Alicia Keys that like people would try. And God Bless the Broken Road by the Rascal Flatts. Like, there were always these certain songs that people would try to cover.
Over and over and cut
and you just be like, dude, just pick a different, like, pick Imagine by John Lennon. Like, let's try to keep it in the vocal range out here.
There's certain songs for me that, because they hold a special place in my heart, like, I can't listen to a cover of them. I'm sure this is a lovely band and a lovely cover. But for me, it's always going to be the Chicks song.
Yeah, well, so this isn't like a straight up cover either of it. This is MGK, but he did several songs where he took like pieces of really popular songs and kind of mixed them into his own thing. So this was one, and then he also did Country Road,
by John Denver.
Yeah, he mixed in that to another song, and like the beginnings, it makes it sound like it's that song, but it's not. And because both times I was like, oh, these are kind of like bold songs to try and do, and then you go through and it's a little bit different. But
well, then that's totally allowed and accepted.
I'll let him know you said so.
And I'm not that person who's like, you can't cover anything. Covers are fun. But there's just certain ones. All right, let's hear from Travis Hunter. He was on a podcast recently, and they were asking him about kind of the difference between New York media and some other medias. And Travis had to defend Jacksonville just a little bit.
New York media is different than Jacksonville media.
You don't care. The media.
All right, bro. Hey, why are you throwing shots though? Who said anything about Jacksonville, or who said anything about New York?
Oh, because I played there. That's why.
But why are you throwing shots at Jacksonville?
No, the media market, you'll see it when you get in the locker room.
Why are you throwing shots at Jacksonville, though?
Hold on. Why are you defending Jacksonville?
No, because why are you throwing shots at them?
No, Uno reverse.
Yeah, the Uno reverse card.
I love it.
Travis Hunter had to defend Jacksonville before he even probably knew he was a Jaguar, and that's why they were pressing him a little bit. Yeah, wink, wink. That's right. By the way, we talked about the prank calls and just how disrespectful those are. Adam Schefter just tweeted out that Abdul Carter also got a prank call during the second pick, in which the caller said he was from the Jaguars and they were going to draft him number 2 overall.
Oh my gosh.
So they just you keep hearing more and more of them. Yeah, and obviously we saw the fine today be released, the NFL fining the Falcons $250,000 and Jeff Ulbrich, the defensive coordinator, $100,000.
I remember that the Travis Hunter, number one, you could tell he was actually like passionate about it. He was like, no, but why are you? Like, stop. But I loved that. But it took me back to when Trevor Lawrence was drafted, and I remember all of the New York media, like Jets media, being like, oh, he's not going to get any endorsements there, and no one's ever going to like pay any attention to Trevor Lawrence. And now it's just hilarious because the amount of commercials you see him on, like Subway and Gatorade, and like one after another, like during the Super Bowl, you're seeing Trevor Lawrence commercials. And I just think it's funny because we are a smaller market, but I do think people like undervalue undervalue what Jacksonville can still bring to the NFL in general and things like that. If you give us a player like a Trevor Lawrence and a Travis Hunter, they're still going to get just as much attention.
Sorry, back to the Ulbrich and the fine. Our friend Corey Kinnan from DAF on Draft. Did you see his tweet this morning?
Not.
So when everyone announces, via various outlets how the repercussions will be a $100,000 fine to Jeff Ulbrich, now the defense coordinator for the Falcons, a $250,000 fine to the organization as a whole. And everyone's debating, is that really fair? And Corey tweeted out, what is the end? Because everyone's like, shouldn't Jax Ulbrich himself, the son, the 21-year-old son, be, somehow, reprimanded in some form or fashion?
He stole the number, but his friend made the phone call.
Right.
Yeah.
And Corey tweets out, he said, what's the NFL supposed to do? Sacrifice him? Kill him? What are we supposed to do? And it's true, because what are you supposed to do? And Demetrius replied and was like, you can ban him. And
yeah, what did Mike Silver say yesterday? Did he say execute?
Right, like Corey said. Corey's like, what are we gonna do? Sacrifice him?
You can make him pay the $100,000 back and have to work for that. I mean,
that's a family decision then. I mean,
yeah, sure. But at the end of the day, what this does, I think, teach a lot of people is make sure you have a lock on your phone. Make sure that you don't leave your phone, unattended.
Or iPad.
Or laptop. You need to have some sort of privacy and protection because people otherwise can get into it. And it's joking or funny when they tweet from your account, something silly. But in a situation like this, if someone got into my cell phone and got certain people's phone numbers, that would not go over well, especially if they were then going to prank call them. All right, I have a question for you two ladies, because as we now know, and we've talked about this throughout the week, Travis Hunter, the Jaguars' second overall pick. Ashton Genty, I think the Jaguars would have taken at number 5 overall if that trade did not materialize. So who's going to score more touchdowns in 2025? Travis Hunter or Ashton Genty?
It has to be Ashton Genty, just by the reality of what the Raiders roster looks like right now. I mean,
it's going to be Brock and Ashton.
Yeah, exactly. I commend, and look, there's a lot of...
I could see them super, just pounding the ball.
Right, and that's Pete Carroll's...
Brian Thomas Jr. here.
Yeah.
Right, and that's Pete Carroll's MO. So, I'm not going to... Look, that is an organization, much like the Jaguars, but to an even further extent, especially given the introverted nature of Brock Bowers, they needed stars.
Yeah.
They needed star power, both within the lines and on the playing field, and also outside of it. And that's what they're going to get in Ashton Genty. And you couple that with Pete Carroll philosophically consistently taking a running back in the first round throughout his tenure in Seattle. And for me, it's just a match made in heaven. They're going to pound the living daylights out of the ball. And that's why Ashton Genty, for me, is the easy answer.
Albert Breer went into more of the pick as far as the Raiders taking Genty. And one of the coaches they talked to, he was like, I'm trying to come up with something negative about this kid, and I can't. Again, the intangibly rich phrase certainly applies to Genty. We know that the Jaguars liked he and Hunter the most of this entire draft class. Genty, I think, would have been such a fun guy to cover here, too. It obviously didn't end up working out for Jacksonville in that regard, and Travis Hunter's going to be so much fun to cover, so I'm not complaining. But I do think that the Raiders got someone who, for them long-term, will be a guy that does probably lead the team in touchdowns. The odds, by the way, have Genty total rushing touchdowns 7, Travis Hunter total receiving touchdowns 5.5. But Taylor, Travis Hunter can also score touchdowns defensively, so maybe that'll end up adding to it if he's got a couple pick sixes out there.
Yeah, and Genty can also catch the ball too, so he may have some receiving touchdowns mixed in there too. But I do think it'll be fun, and I don't think this is going to be one. This isn't going to be one, to me, we have to still listen to the Trayvon and Aiden. Yeah. I don't think we're going to, in a couple years, people are going to be like, I can't believe they traded up for Travis instead of taking Ashton.
Or Mason Graham, by the way.
Yeah, or definitely not Mason Graham, sorry. But I do think that it's going to be fun to kind of watch both of them because there wasn't many of, we've talked about it so much this last couple months, there wasn't many of those true star players that people felt were immediately going to impact your roster in that way, but also as a star in general, the name being known the way they were as a Travis Hunter and a Ashton Genty. The other guy was Abdul Carter, who's probably going to get a ton of sacks, but you're not going to be talking about him scoring the way those two guys are going to be scoring.
Yeah, if Genty played receiver, if it was Tet McMillan that the Jaguars had come down to, which it sounds like the Jaguars were interested in Tet McMillan, one of the few teams, or several teams that were, then I think it would be closer to the Trayvon Aiden discussion because they play the same position, or if Travis was a running back.
Or if they went like Will Johnson. It'd be like, what? Okay, well, you could have had Travis Hunter.
Right, absolutely. But because they play different positions and the teams are in kind of different places, I do think that it's not going to be that straight comparison. But of course, I think Jacksonville will be following along with Ashton Genty's career, especially because he was born here.
And by the way, we get to go back to Vegas.
We do get to go back to Vegas. I'm waiting for the schedule release on Wednesday, May 14th. That evening, the NFL will release it, and we will get to find out our life schedules, our social calendars, which really consists of nothing but football for 5 months. But yeah, excited about that. And the Jags go to Denver this year too,
Yeah.
and so
That'll be a fun one.
That would be a really
couple
fun
players that they wanted are on the Broncos, so you have that
Exactly.
little extra incentive there too.
And players that like Evan Ingram, who used to be on the
that's true.
Jaguars. All right, let's get it to Caleb Ransaw. We will chat with someone who covered him at Tulane, Mattie Hudach. On the other side, you are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010X on 92.5 FM.
He's 1010XL's radio road grader, Leon Searcy. 2 to 4 weekdays on 1010XL.
Are you ready to step up to luxury?
Check out the power of our exciting 2025 lineup, including the Lyric, IQ, Optique, and the stunning Vistique.
With over 15 electric Cadillacs in stock and more on the way, it's the perfect time to trade in your Tesla and embrace luxury with a twist.
At Randy Marion, there are no tariffs. So visit Randy Marion Cadillac on Southside Boulevard, Jacksonville, and see why our electric lineup turns heads.
Don't miss out. Drive Cadillac, electric or gas. We have both. Plus tax tag title $9.99 admin fee and resist all on approved credit.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
It's Work Zone Awareness Week, Florida. Every year, lives are lost in work zones because of speeding and distractions. When you see orange cones, remember, slow down, follow the signs, and stay focused. Workers are counting on you to get home safely, and so are their families. Let's work together to prevent crashes and save lives. A safety reminder from the Florida Department of Transportation. Slow your roll. Safety's the goal.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Helmets and Heels.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the trumpet call heard round the world. Experience the thrill of the Kentucky Derby at Best Bet. Saturday, May 3rd, witness the most exciting 2 minutes in sports and dive into the action with live wagering. This could be your lucky day. Mark your calendars and join us at Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, or St. Augustine on May 3rd for the Kentucky Derby. Visit bestbetjacks.com for more details. That's bestbetjacks.com.
Are you an experienced chiller technician and looking for a role where your skills are truly valued? It's time to make the move to Local 234, plumbers, pipe fitters, and HVAC technicians. You'll get top pay, comprehensive health and welfare benefits for your family, and a pension that doesn't come out of your pocket. Join the team that's got your back. Local 234, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit UA234.com to send your resume today.
Equal opportunity employer.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On April 30th, 1939, Lou Gehrig sets MLB record playing his 2,130th consecutive and final game for the New York Yankees.
The aroma, flavor, the bliss. Nothing matches a great cigar, and now you can indulge yourself with My Father's Cigars. Come to Tobacco Cove on Saturday, May 3rd from 1 to 4 p.m. for an incredible cigar event featuring food, drinks, and specials on cigars. This is your chance to embrace the joy of My Father's Cigars at Tobacco Cove on Bay Meadows Road. More than a cigar store, it's an experience.
Beat the spring cleaning rush with big savings and priority booking by calling our heroes at Zero Res. This month, get Zero Resified from Jacksonville's #1 carpet cleaner. You'll get 25% off all cleaning services. That's right, 25% off. Check out 8,000 raving customer reviews if you don't believe me online. Call them, 904-287-5727, or visit their website, ZeroResJacksonville.com. Zero Res, spell it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
Daily
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval Sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey, ham, melted cheddar, and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval Sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Are your monthly bills keeping you up at night, wondering how you got so behind? Hey, I'm Roger Moore, CEO of Loan Pronto. I get it. Life is expensive now. Insurance, groceries, cars. And then there's the credit card debt with those obscene interest rates. It's time to regain your financial freedom. And that's what we offer at Loan Pronto, using the power of the equity in your home. We have multiple ways to get you the cash you need, and most clients close in 2 weeks or less, and many don't even require an appraisal. And listen, rates have been plummeting recently. We just locked a homeowner in with an APR in the low fives, saving her over $1,000 per month, and put $10,000 in her pocket. Life-changing money. Whether you're drowning in debt, have a nosebleed rate you got last year, need home improvements, or simply need cash in your pocket, we can help you accomplish this goal in record time. Call us today and get started with no hard credit pull, just a conversation. LoanPronto.com, 904-999-1508. LoanPronto.com. That's LoanPronto.com.
Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Hey, Hicken here. I want to tell you guys about Lift Power. Lift Power, a Jacksonville-based business, been around for more than 50 years, family-owned and operated, and always on the lookout for good folks, experienced lift truck and dock-and-door technicians. The benefits out of this world: 401k, company vehicle, paid training, sign-on bonus. Offers so great. Come see why Lift Power's been voted one of the best places to work for the past several years as well. We want you to be a part of the family. Don't let this opportunity slip by. To learn more, all you got to do is go to liftpower.com. Check them out at liftpower.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Here come that teal and black, baby. Duval with the 88th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. The Jacksonville Jaguars select Khalid Ransom, DB, Tulane.
Okay, this is Coach Cam. What's going on, bro?
What up, Coach? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Congratulations.
I appreciate you, Coach. I really do.
Over the middle. Oh, goodness. Picked off. It's Caleb Ransaw. Ransaw gets a nice return.
All right, let's talk some new Jaguars players. I think we need to tell TJ Slaughter it's Caleb, but it's fine. Caleb Ransaw was drafted in round 3, pick 88, and now we are joined by Mattie Hudach. She's the sideline reporter for Tulane football. Mattie, thank you so much for hopping on with us today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I was going to say it's not Khalid, but it was close.
Yeah, I think he overthought it a little bit. But let's just start with the basic part of the Tulane defense this last year and that role that Caleb Ransaw played in that secondary, because I know a lot of questions. It came up that nickel corner spot, but it looks like he's going to be playing safety here in Jacksonville. So we'll get to that. But just tell us a little bit about his role that he did play on that Tulane secondary.
Yeah, so in college, they tend to call some positions, just different than what they would normally be. And so he was called a spear. That really is kind of that slot nickel corner. And so kind of what you were just saying. But when he was playing over in Mobile for the Senior Bowl, they did move him a little bit more to, I think, kind of that primary split safety back there. But he was pretty much in the slot here at Tulane, covering that slot receiver, and then with a lot more kind of box safety responsibilities and stopping the run.
Mattie, when it comes to Caleb Ransaw, the person, who is Jacksonville getting?
He's a really great leader on the defense. He's someone that our head coach, John Summerall, brought over from the Troy Trojans, and he just had so much time on task. So it was just such a great leader out there as well, and I think that really translates. He's kind of a quieter guy, but sometimes those quieter guys in the defensive back room, their actions kind of speak for themselves. I think that was kind of him as a person, just a little bit quieter, but definitely a leader out there.
You can find Mattie on X at Mattie. That's Maddy, Hudach, Hudak _94 on X. She, of course, is the sideline reporter for the Tulane Green Wave football team. Mattie, building off of some of the buzzwords that have come out about Caleb Ransaw after he was selected by the Jacksonville Jaguars, let's start with this one. As sure a tackler as there is in this year's NFL draft. When I say that, you say?
His fundamentals are just really sound, and they're really there. I was actually kind of surprised by his measurements at the Senior Bowl because I guess he's a little shorter than I thought he was. He really kind of carries himself in just kind of a taller stature way, but one of those guys that when it's the first impact, first hit tackle, he just had such a great wrap-up technique. You know, there was kind of a period of the year where guys were just kind of shooting themselves at players and almost kind of forgetting that wrap-up, and never Caleb Bransaw.
Mattie, when we're talking about that, because that tackling part has been something that a lot of people have complimented on, and maybe some of the criticisms come from the coverage side of things and saying maybe that needs a little bit more development, especially at the next level. But what did you see in your time covering him and just kind of the process of throughout that time of the development and getting better in that area of the game?
Yeah, and so in order to be a good tackler, you have to be in the position to make the plays, and it wasn't like he was kind of breaking up broken tackles here and there. He wasn't also targeted, I think, that much either. And when you look at those targets, it's sometimes are they being targeted a lot because of the defensive back they are or because of the caliber of receiver that they're covering. And when Bransaw was targeted, it was really in that latter category where I think a lot of the offenses we played against last year, they just had those really speedy receivers. He also had a hamstring injury about halfway through the year, and I feel like that's really important to bring up at the defensive back position when, you know, you look at maybe he needs to shore up a little in coverage. I would say kind of several of those plays last year, I'd really have wanted to see what a healthy Caleb Bransaw would have looked like out there. Just when you have a hamstring strain, it's so hard to get that short area quickness and that twitch. But what I liked is that when he was kind of getting back to form, that never really converted into sloppy play where he started racking up penalties or anything like that. It was just kind of, I think, a slower season for him in coverage just because he kind of had that injury. And then just, you know, when he was targeted, he played pretty well. But we played a lot of teams, too, that just had a heavier run game than a passing game. And so that just kind of played to what their strengths were. But I think he was always great, again, with that tackling and stopping the run.
Mattie Hudach is our guest on the Checkmate Coatings hotline. Mattie, since you brought up coverage, I do want to jump in here. That was something that James Gladstone, the general manager for the Jacksonville Jaguars, made known after the Jaguars selected Caleb in the third round. This idea of because he was asked to play so much man and assignment football, he wasn't able to make plays on the ball because this was a defense that relied on him to lock down the opposition's best wide receiver or someone specifically in coverage that they said, hey, you've got to be focused on this guy. You can't have your face, you can't be facing the quarterback and actually trying to read him and make plays. What do you make of that assessment, knowing what you've seen the last year plus?
Yeah, it's pretty dead on, all things considered. You know, they switched up a little bit of zone coverage in the secondary a little bit, but I think the Jaguars manager was correct in that he primarily did play that man role. And again, you know, I didn't think of him that much during the year. When you're talking about corners, that's really often a good thing. And he's also such a smart player because when you look at the Senior Bowl, he switched kind of safety. He had never really played that. Coach Summerall said that, you know, he's just such a film junkie. He could draw up the all 22 of their defense basically at all times. And just to be able to make a play in the Senior Bowl in coverage, he had one of, he had an interception during the game. He didn't have that many. I don't think he had a single one last year for Tulane. But again, you look at kind of those targeting opportunities, he just wasn't thrown to that often. And when he did, it was often in the end zone where you're just kind of trying to, make a play on the ball and just kind of get that over with, and less so trying to get your hands on it in those situations. But he was never a guy you looked to and thought, oh, that was a missed tackle. Oh, that was a blown play in coverage, and that's why Tulane's in this position. He was never really that guy doing that.
How much do you think that Senior Bowl performance and in general kind of what he did this whole offseason, because between the Senior Bowl, the Combine, Pro Day, he really had pop moments and all three of those like popping out moments. How much do you think that factored into the Jaguars kind of seeing his ability to move to a different position if they needed him to?
Oh, I think it played a huge factor. I think he's kind of the perfect definition of a guy that just really took the offseason pre-draft process, the opportunities he had, and really ran with them. And again, you look at that hamstring injury. He didn't play in our bowl game. He kind of wanted to get healthy for those events. When you look at his 40-yard dash and his vertical, I'm really glad that he made that decision because his speed, that was something that you saw earlier pre-injury and then just kind of when allowed at that position. But it's pretty much the most important trait at that slot role is that short area quickness. But to be able to show that you're, willing to switch positions and that you're coachable enough to be able to, again, be in the position to make a play during the game. And I also think it's important that he stayed and played in that game. It's something that a lot of guys think they have a good week of practice. They end up leaving, but a lot of the time that's an opportunity to show that you're coachable enough to be able to go in there, play a different position, and make a play on the ball when it's such a kind of mess of a game out there. So I just think that the way he really approached his offseason process, it definitely shot his name up the draft boards. But when I look back at camp, even throughout fall camp, I'll say there was consistently scouts there, and almost every single time I asked who they were there to see, it was Caleb Bransaw. So he had a lot of eyes on him really this offseason process and definitely made the most of it.
We talk so much about the transfer portal on this show, Mattie, and how it deeply affects a lot of teams, whether it's positive or negative, certainly. I feel like Tulane is a team that, and obviously, like we talked about, he came from Troy, Caleb did, but I feel like Tulane's a team that other teams are trying to kind of steal their players. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I kind of feel that way, especially kind of being one of those G5 programs. But I think, between Ransaw going in the third round and then, one of our starting corners last year, Mike.
They're trying to kind of steal their players.
Transfer in that second portal window. So had, pretty much just fall camp to get assimilated. For them both to get drafted in this draft class, I think really shows just how much they can translate to the next level. But yeah, it is really stressful in this age of college football. It's really, half recruiting guys that aren't on your roster, but more than anything, consistently recruiting the guys that you already have in the building.
When you talk about that move, obviously the first 3 years at Troy and then his senior year at Tulane, did you talk to him initially when he made that transfer of the decision to coming that way over to Tulane?
Yeah, it was just kind of an easy decision, I think, to kind of follow the coach, especially the coach that recruited you, developed you, and knows how to put you in the position to succeed. And the way that Summerall just spoke about Caleb Bransaw, you can tell that he really just valued him so much as a player. And I think he was looking, as a defensive-minded coach especially, to just kind of bring over a few defensive guys to really set the tone back there. And he was the guy in that backfield with, or the defensive backfield with the most amount of experience in that secondary coming into this team. And so I just think having that at such a difficult position to recruit for, and I think that's the thing too, these kind of guys, it's such a hard position to be able to play and be versatile enough to play safety and slot and have all those different traits. And so I think knowing that in that player, having such a coveted skill set and knowing that there were so many secondary needs over at Tulane, I think, just really made sense for both the player and coach to move as one.
Well, certainly here in Jacksonville, this idea of did the safety room need to be remodeled? The Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yes.
Taylor Dahl says yes, and if only in their actions, Mattie, it appears that the Jacksonville Jaguars front office agreed it needed to be remodeled, and certainly more sure tacklers, players who can offer versatility needed to be brought in. Give us, before you head out, Mattie, on the Checkmate Coatings hotline, give us a thought on Tulane football in John Summerall's now second or third year are we at in Tulane?
Yeah, I think that they're kind of showing, if anything else, how to really handle the transfer portal in college football and conduct back-to-back quarterback competitions. And I think it just really shows, as much as the transfer portal and everything really dominates the sport, really the importance of culture, having an identity and a philosophy there. And I think John Summerall is really just the perfect guy to hit on all those marks.
Mattie, speaking of, because what you just said too with Micah Robinson also being drafted, I read a stat earlier that with him and Ransaw, now that makes 6 Tulane draft picks in the last 3 drafts, and that hasn't happened since 1982, 1984. So it's definitely something to start kind of focusing on this, on that maybe Tulane football a little bit more than some people are. But final one, Mattie, before we let you go, because I did want to ask, what was the mindset there of where Caleb Ransaw would go in this draft? Were you guys expecting that round 3? Because like I said, it was that 88th pick. Was it around there that you guys were expecting him to go?
I'll say I was expecting him to definitely be a day 2 pick just based on the amount of early pre-draft attention he really got. To be the second highest player drafted since Tajay Spears, who is the highest player drafted since Matt Forte. Those are Tulane legend names. So it was, I think a little bit of a pleasant surprise just to see that type of play at the G5 level especially is still respected in the NFL.
All right, Mattie Hudach, sideline reporter for Tulane football. We really appreciate your time, and I know a lot of people here in Jacksonville, including myself, are excited about Caleb Ransaw and what he can do in this secondary.
Yeah, he's going to be fun to watch. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
And again, you can find Mattie on X at Mattie, Maddy, Hudach, Hudak_94. See a couple of the Heeligans on the YouTube chat line. And the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures, noting that maybe a New Orleans Saints tie with that last name. I don't know the answer to that one. Maybe Taylor Dahl does.
She worked for the Saints previous to being Tulane, working at Tulane also. So that's how I know her, is because I did a podcast with her separately on some of the Saints stuff, and then now she covers Tulane Tulane football. So she's been in that world for a while of kind of seeing both levels of football players too. So that's why it's interesting to kind of get that perspective of what he could look like at this level, because she's seen it. She's seen a defense in the Saints that's very focused on what their secondary was when she worked under Dennis Allen.
And that means that she's covered Derek Carr closely, who had to come out and say that he has an MRI to prove that he has a shoulder injury because he heard everyone saying that he was lying about his injury.
I can't believe I made it through that without a Jameis Winston question, actually, because she was there with Jameis.
Oh, God. See, Taylor's looking at this glass half full. Lauren, you need to lay out the scene. We need to set the scene for folks if we're going to get our dig at Derek Carr in here on this fine Wednesday. No, here's the reality. Derek Carr gave a sermon at his church service about some lady with a podcast, a.k.a. Diana Rossini of The Athletic, spreading misinformation about him. Like, what are we doing? Like, I guess church is in session whenever Derek Carr has the microphone.
Derek Carr is an interesting human being. And like I said,
did he post his MRI picture?
He didn't post him, but at a press conference, someone said something about the recovery time, and he was like, just to let everyone know, I really do have an injury and I have the MRI to prove it, because he was listening to everybody say that his shoulder injury was fabricated. But the Saints, that's a whole nother, we could literally spend a whole segment talking about what they're going to do and what maybe Tyler Shuck's going to do for this season. I mean, he's played for Mario Cristobal and Jeff Brom. Like, he is set up to potentially really succeed in the NFL. And then what will happen if Derek Carr?
The Rattler's still hanging around too.
Spencer Rattler is there for sure. All right, I want to get it to rookie quarterbacks on the other side. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010X on 92.5 FM.
Of all the places in the world, this is our favorite. This is home. 1010XL. Jacksonville Sports Radio.
Hey, Hicken here. I couldn't be any happier than to join the George Moore Chevrolet family. When I say family, I mean it. Visit their beautiful showroom today off Atlantic Boulevard. Find out exactly what I'm talking about. No pressure, just friendly help. And whether you want a car, a truck, SUV, electric, pre-owned, you name it, George Moore Chevrolet has it. And if you can't make it over to Atlantic Boulevard, no problem. MooreChevy.com is easy to navigate as any site you will try. It's never been more easy to use. George Moore Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
John Haney here for Clearwater. And I know I'm always joking around, but this is a serious time for our coach and our team. So if you need a sprinkler system, a French drain, or seamless gutters, and you live in Duval County, then give us a call today.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage too.
Duval.
ClearwaterJacks.com.
Hacker here, taking you back exactly 1 year this week. I was only 9 weeks into Awaken 180 and had already dropped 54 pounds. Seriously, that's like shedding a first grader in just over 2 months. That's wild, right? Fast forward to today, 2 months into my maintenance, and I'm still down over 115 pounds. Not a pound put back on. It's like Awaken 180 gave my weight a permanent eviction notice. Now listen up. We all want to have goals, but sometimes they seem to be far-fetched. This one won't be. Dropping 40 pounds by the 4th with Awaken 180. It's doable when you have a proven program with an excellent coach by your side. Weekly weight loss, enjoying the ride, and reaching your goal. We all did it. No reason you can't. Set your goal, make the call, and reach 40 by the 4th with the solution for weight loss. Online at awaken180weightloss.com or call 844-346-1800.
You've got a lot on your plate. The last thing you need is car trouble. At Maxie's Mechanics, we help you keep your cars, trucks, and SUVs running safely. Visit MaxieAutoRepair.com today for honest service, reliable repairs, and peace of mind for you and your family.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Interested in a unique date night? Gibby here. I took my wife Nikki to Wick a Candle Bar. She made her own custom candle right there in the store. Shop local at Wick a Candle Bar. Locations in San Marco and Jacks Beach.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. If you've got fogged up windows, let me help. We'll replace them with clear, insulated units that brighten up your home. People say we're fast, friendly, and reliable. Just check out our Google reviews. Call me today. Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
You'll always feel good when you send someone a Kuhn Flowers floral or plant arrangement. This is RJ with 1010XL, and no matter what the reason, Kuhn Flowers has always come through for me. Order online at KuhnFlowers.com.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
When it comes to towing products, your safety is the priority at Cannons of Jacksonville. Cannons has decades of experience to ensure your towing setup is installed with precision and reliability. Visit cannonsofjacks.com, your trusted partner for a smoother tow.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Jason, I don't see how a new air conditioner is going to work out for me.
Well, you like air conditioning, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. But a new air conditioner could be expensive.
Well, not if you...
I mean, to save up the money, I probably have to give up my extra hot skim latte every morning. Now I fall asleep during a staff meeting, get volunteered for the summer picnic committee, and end up sitting in the dunk tank all afternoon getting water up my nose.
Okay, look at it this way. Put on these sunglasses. Whoa. Bueller Air and Plumbing puts in a new AC. We hook you up with affordable financing, and you stay cool and comfortable for just $149 a month. Cool?
Cool. I see it now.
Life can be hard on your budget. If you suffer through the heat because of a broken AC you could totally afford to replace, you could visit.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Ackerman Urology has 4 convenient locations providing advanced urological care to improve men's health and sexual vitality. Don't suffer through prostate, bladder, or kidney issues. Visit AckermanUrology.com.
For lost or broken keys or nearly any make and model of vehicle, call 722-1111 for
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Are your monthly bills keeping you up at night, worried about your finances in these crazy times? Hey, it's Prosser here. And if you're like most people, you've racked up a sizable amount on your credit cards, and the monthly payment is not making a dent in it. It's time to call Loan Pronto. If you own a home, you have a super easy way to get tens or even hundreds of thousands in cash. Loan Pronto has lots of options for helping you tap into the equity in your home and get the cash you need to get back on solid footing. Most homeowners who do this end up wiping out all their credit card debt and cutting their monthly expenses by $1,000. Look, you didn't mean to end up here, but you don't have to keep stressing out about money. Call Loan Pronto for fast debt relief now. 904-999-1508. That's the number to Loan Pronto. Or you can also go to loanpronto.com. That's 904-999-1508 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
I'm Max Fink with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update brought to you by Kuhn Flowers. The Jacksonville Dolphins men's lacrosse team rounded out the regular season over the weekend, knocking off Mercer on Senior Day at Rock Stadium with a final score of 16-12. The first quarter got off to a slow back-and-forth start, but the Dolphins offense quickly sprung into action in the second, scoring 7 goals, going on a commanding run, making it 11-6 going into half. The Dolphins' momentum kept rolling into the third quarter, getting 3 quick ones to start the half. The defense held off Mercer's late comeback push in the fourth, finishing the regular season 9-4 overall and 4-1 in conference play. Jacksonville is hosting this year's ASUN playoffs as the Dolphins will take on Air Force this Friday at 4 as the 2 seed in the tournament. The winner of Friday's game will play for the ASUN Championship and NCAA tournament berth on Sunday. It's 81 degrees at 12:57. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Everybody has been working so hard, but let's get down to business. With the 107th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Jack Kaiser, linebacker, Notre Dame.
Jaguars.
We're going to Florida.
Pistol on 2nd and 2. The 8th cousin Bostovsky. Interception. That one's going to count. And that's a Jack Kaiser Notre Dame touchdown.
right, now time to talk Fighting Irish a little bit. We're joined now by Malik Zaire, former Notre Dame and Florida Gator quarterback, host of Lucky Left podcast. Malik, thanks so much for hopping on with us today to talk some Jack Kaiser.
Oh, man, anytime you get to talk about Irish and Jacksonville in the same sentence, this is my conversation.
I love it. I also was very excited. I did text you that I was kind of bummed they didn't take Xavier Watts, but that's a different story. We're here to talk about that.
Don't get me started.
Well, let's talk about Jack Kaiser. I think the big question is that fit of where he can fit at the next level, and he played a little bit of everywhere at Notre Dame. So talk about that, the base of what Jack Kaiser could and did for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
The floor is a 10-year veteran, committed guy, can become Mr. Jacksonville himself. The ceiling is Paul Peluzzi. I mean, the guy is Iron Man, 70-plus games, a ton of wealth and experience, maybe not be the number one athlete, but he's going to be in the right place at the right time, and that's why he made Notre Dame special. He's played and seen and been anywhere and everywhere you can be in a football landscape. And the greatest award you can win is being the healthiest. And for him to be able to have 70-plus games, that is the ultimate dream for football players, to be available and to be able to make plays. And, Jacksonville being able to pick him up, and then as well as a nice trade, getting Chris Ash, being able to get a defensive coordinator. It's just a great relationship between the Irish and Jacksonville, and Jack Kaiser is the perfect fit. We're like the proud parents that's sending our kid off to college because he's going to have a great career and do great things. And it's no different with Jack Kaiser, man. Super, super great pick. Underrated, but something that is going to be a day one impact and a great role player on a team that I think we can make the playoffs this year. So he can definitely contribute to that.
Malik is all in, and we are so happy to have you join us, Malik Zaire, as we begin the 1 o'clock hour here on Helmets and Heels. When it comes to Jack Kaiser, what is the part of his game? Because I know, and he told us on Zoom after he was selected, he knows he's not some elite athlete who's going to have a 9.7 relative athletic score. He just checks the box. He clears the threshold. What part of his game, though, is significantly underrated and is perhaps the reason he will translate to being a 10-year veteran in the NFL?
It's the football IQ. When you're at the right place at the right time, special things happen. And because he has the wealth of experience and that trust, not only from his teammates, from his coaching staff, that they know that, okay, we may not have to have him as a highlight player, but he's our Austin Reeves. If we're talking Lakers, he's our Austin Reeves. He's not LeBron. He's not Luka. He's not going to be getting all the fanfare, but he's that guy you need to make everything go. And that's his special ability, is being able to be fit and be versatile. Some guys can't rush off the right side, rush off the left side. He can do both. He's familiar with the positions on the field, and he knows how to play his role. And in professional sports, if you're not the most paid guy on the team, you got to know how to play your role. And I think that's what makes him so special when he goes in the locker rooms, is that guys can relate. Heck, he's played so many games, he's probably played with most people in the locker room now. So that just all comes into the trust factor and what makes a great teammate. And that's the things that he checks off the box. So he may not check as a 4-4 with 260 linebacker and just doing all that, but he's going to be the guy who's going to be there on the third down. He's going to make the pass breakup when he needs to, punch the ball out on a running back that's getting a great gain. He's going to make the plays that you're like, damn, I'm glad we drafted. Guys that stick around a long time.
Jack Kaiser did play with Jaguars center Robert Hainsey at Notre Dame. So like you mentioned, he's played with guys certainly here already in Jacksonville. When it comes to, Malik, his ability to, like you mentioned, the football IQ, his ability to identify things pre-snap, is that something that he came to Notre Dame with? Is that something that he learned at Notre Dame?
When you play 70 games on a Division I level, identifying and being able to count and react and have that confidence and knowing what you're doing, I mean, you can't get a better guy. If you're able to survive 70 games and still be healthy going into a thing, that means you're playing smart. So the one thing in the league that's the biggest thing is being available. And for a 54-man roster, for a guy that can last the whole season and still be an impact, I mean, that's just you're winning 2-1. It's a 2-1 gift because then that way you can develop. So for a guy that can be available, be in those reps, and gain knowledge, I mean, he's going to grow as a Jacksonville Jaguar and be there a long time because he has the right tools. You know, it's not a flash in the pan. He told you, he said, I may not be the flash in the pan, but I can be that spaghetti that you eat every day. So as long as he can be something edible every day, we're in good standing.
When you talk about that 6 seasons, it's funny because if you go back to that time, the Notre Dame did play Clemson twice that year. He did face the now Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence in week 9 of that season. So it's funny to think about how long he's been there. But during that time, obviously, you're going from Brian Kelly for a little while and then this transfer over to Marcus Freeman, who are two very different style coaching and two coaching styles in general, and just kind of that shift of sticking with a program too when there is a coaching change of somebody you committed to compared to somebody else. Tell us a little bit about that, and just Jack Kaiser sticking through both that Brian Kelly, a little bit of that era, and then now the full Marcus Freeman era so far.
Well, for him to be able to flip your mind, you got two different style of coaches and two different regimes, and being able to stay in the pocket and still be resourceful and useful just shows that it's bigger than it being for him being a talent, right? Because it's talent all over the place, but coaches are going to play who they like. And for the whole new coaching staff to come in and ingratiate themselves with Jack Kaiser and not just move on like most college programs do and get all their guys and all that. Jack Kaiser's leadership ability as well as being able to communicate was why they couldn't look over him. Yeah, we might have some talent guys at Notre Dame right now. We're excited about young guys that can fly around and all of that. But at the end of the day, they couldn't make it go unless Jack Kaiser was in there. So it's awesome to see. And just in general, for not your obviously he's a great football player, but a lot of guys talk about your average Joe. But for an average Joe to be having to play, like you can't keep him off the field. There's a special quality for guys like that, and it's going to transfer to wherever they need him on the team, whether it be special teams, third down linebacker, rotation guy, whatever. He's going to be able to fill that spot that coaches are really looking for. It's one thing to have a bunch of Chiefs, no Indians, but he can be both a Chief and Indian. He can take a back seat in a quote-unquote a back seat to a young linebacker that we really have a lot of faith in and still be able to be productive and help his teammates get better. So whenever you have a guy on defense that can help other guys play at their ability and feel comfortable, and especially when they're young and you can come in and play next to you and have that confidence and experience, I mean, what else can you ask for? It's either you get guys like that or you get the super freak talented once-in-a-generation players.
Couple more from Malik Zaire on the Checkmate Coatings hotline. Malik, of course, the former quarterback at both the University of Notre Dame as well as the University of Florida. Let's look at the defensive side of the ball, big picture here, Malik, especially knowing that you've got your pulse on Duval County. You've got your pulse on the Jacksonville Jaguars.
That's right.
There's a couple of our listeners, of course, we affectionately call them Heeligans, Malik, on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures right now. And they are insisting, and they're on the YouTube chat too, by the way, and they are insisting that the Jaguars should have gone with a different Jack, that the Jaguars need edge and defensive line help. Head coach Liam Cohen was quoted in the Athletic profile yesterday from inside the war room as saying, we already have multiple round 1, round 2 defensive linemen on this team, and we need to be looking at other positions to start fortifying. What do you make of this conversation in Jacksonville of, wow, they only took one potential edge rusher in Jalen McLeod out of Auburn in this year's draft? What are they going to do about sack production and getting after the quarterback?
Well, it's a team effort defensively, and I think a lot of it has to do with what we're going to do better offensively. It's one thing for the defense to be the backbone of a team, and for our offensive struggles, our defense, in my opinion, had a lot of playing both sides of the ball, if you would say. They had to pick up a lot of slack from things that we could have been better on offensively, but defensively and having that balance with our new head coach, I think is going to be great because now you get to see our defense flourish when they're not under pressure all game. I mean, come on. We had to pull some magic out the hat for us to stay in games defensively that we don't get enough credit for, but to be a defense where we're going to be more productive on the defensive line. That's going to come from our circumstance because we're going to be putting pressure offensively on teams that want to score. And whenever you can get the upper hand or the know-how on what teams are going to come at you with in terms of having to pass the ball because they have to score, you're going to see our defensive line flourish. And you got to have faith in the organization. If we're only picking up one edge rusher, that means we have faith in the guys in the locker room, which is something that is going to show on another year of experience, another year of guys getting in. The biggest problem of the league is guys don't stick around and there's no vets in the locker room. But for us, we have that, especially on the defensive line, and bringing in our young guy is only going to help us get better. Especially, I think we should have got Xavier Watts, but, hey, I can't, it's Christmas only one time a year. So if we got to get one Notre Dame guy at a time, well, that's cool with me, because you still got a great one in Jack Kaiser. But for our division and knowing how Houston is doing well in their draft picks and their commitment to an edge rusher and a quarterback and the things that they do, I think we're right in line to make a lot of shots this season in our division specifically. I think we got the upper edge on Indy. It's going to be a couple years till they figure it out. Trevor Lawrence is still, in my opinion, a top 10 quarterback. But now that we got an offensive coach and you've seen what he's done with Baker, he's revived Baker a little bit, and that's only down the street. We ain't even talking about, another division. He's only down the street. So if he can do that with Baker, Trevor Lawrence is going to be quite fine. We're going to buff it. You got Brian Thomas out there. We're going to produce some more points. But defensively, I think we're solid, and we're going to be better because the offense is going to be better this year.
And by the way, to your point, Malik, we just had somebody on YouTube on the chat line say the Jags were 3 and out on offense the entire season. When your defense is gassed, do we actually know what they have in the locker room?
Come on. What can you do with that? What can you do? It's lopsided football. It's like a relationship. If your wife is doing everything and you're not doing your part, it just looks really bad. You know what I mean? And I think this is a healthy relationship we're building in the organization. I believe in Trevor. He's going to rally the troops and get us where we need to be offensively. But defensively, I'm not worried about it, guys. Come on. If we're not like Atlanta, well, we got to draft our whole defense in the first 2 rounds. We are good. We need to focus on our special teams. We don't need to make spectacles in the draft because we have a confident coaching staff. And also, these other teams need to be worried about us in the division, like Indy and Houston. Houston's just been the flash in the pan, the sexy girl on the street. But we're the consistent organization that's going to make this playoff run this year.
Taylor mentioned that Jack Kaiser played against Trevor Lawrence. That means he also played against Travis Etienne, and he played alongside Kyle Hamilton, whose 5th-year option was just picked up as safety for the Ravens today, and guys like Kyron Williams, too. We're all just in that Notre Dame-Clemson game back in 2020, so that's fun to look at. Malik, when it comes to Trevor Lawrence, you said you still think he's a top 10 quarterback. For people that say that Trevor doesn't have situational awareness or that Trevor sometimes doesn't go through his progressions as quickly as he needs to at this next level, what say you?
Well, you got to think about it. It's a stressful position because at the end of the day, you're trying to win games. So when you break analytically down all the things that you say he's not good at, you got to think of the mindset that he's playing with. He's like, dude, I have to score points. That means I have to take more risks. I have to hold on to the ball a little bit longer. And decisions that were easier before become a lot harder when you're under the pressure of, I have to do this by myself. And I think that obviously causes mistakes when you don't win a lot of games or games that you're supposed to win, puts a lot of pressure on the quarterback. But I do think when you have the right support, because you got to think, playing quarterback is a trickle-down effect of what's happening in the up part of the organization and even on top of that. So when the organization and the staff is right, the quarterback will be right. And it's hard to win in this league without a consistent quarterback play. But, hell, when you got 4 quarterback coaches and 4 different play callers in your first early years, it stunts your growth. But to be able to still be that franchise quarterback and stick down there, he's going to be fine because his talent's there. It's not like we're dealing with a Will Levis in Tennessee or with a Anthony Richardson who's too far away to play right now because, it's one of those things. But on top of the fact that we have the unique talent and the attention that we're going to get from Travis Hunter, everything is in front of Jacksonville Jaguars. Everybody's catching up to where we're going to be this year, and especially in our division, we're going to make a playoff push.
Malik Zaire, former Notre Dame and Florida quarterback. Final one before we let you go, because you just mentioned that name, and earlier you said the phrase freak athlete, freak football player. Is that Travis Hunter, and how much of both sides of the ball can he play at the next level?
It's really just a commitment to what the organization wants to do. If we're going to let him play both sides, then support him. Don't just sit there and put him on the number one receiver and turn around and make him the number one target, because I just think that's, guys are getting paid millions of dollars to play one side of the ball. So I'm just going to have respect for the game in that aspect. But if we're going to let him do it, then support him, because Deion supported him and it ended up turning out to be pretty great. And it's just a support thing. Like, yes, he has the talent, but I believe that in the NFL, there's guys that can also do the same thing. It's just about what you're able to do. And I think if we're going to run with this freak athlete the way we know and what we think he can be, then it's going to be fun to watch. I mean, think about it. On a 54-man roster, one guy can do 2 spots. So that's an extra guy you can add somewhere else on the roster when you need it. It's just the versatility is what you love. And eventually maybe we get, more Travis Hunters in the future because of it. But it's going to start with us being able to put him in a good position to show that you can do it. And that's we're the pioneers of the new wave with that. And I think it's going to show this year. And he's got ample opportunity for where we are. And I think, that's going to put us in a good spot for the playoffs. The more narratives and the more things that we can add to this team on top of a first-year head coach, where we've seen a Ben Johnson do well as an offensive head guy with a quarterback that has talent. And it's no different for us, and everything else will follow once that quarterback and head coach or offensive coordinator come into play.
All right, Malik, well, we really appreciate your time. Go Jags, go Irish.
Go Jags, go Irish. It's synonymous. We just get a direct flight. South Bend to Jacksonville. That's what we need to work on.
When we get Terminal B, dude, we got to start the petition right now. We need that direct flight. I don't care what airline signs up for it. Appreciate you, Malik.
That's right, always. Go Irish. Go Jacksonville.
You can find him on Instagram at Overtime Malik and on X at Malik Zaire 8. I have to tell you, ladies, after we were told yesterday, which the Heeligans were very excited to have Mike Silver on. They love Mike Silver because he's the Trent Krim from Ted Lasso, and that he used to mock us.
No, he does not want to be that guy.
He doesn't want to be that guy. But we've gotten multiple responses from the Heeligans that they love Malik. They love his take. So, hey, glad we could have back-to-back heroes of Duval elsewhere around the country who will defend you to the death.
Yeah, Mike Silver made it very clear he is not Trent Krim. He does not.
But it was said from the Heeligan, from the perspective of, hey, you will also defend us.
Yeah.
You will do whatever it takes now.
All right, we'll give you the Terminix Pest of the Day on the other side. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
1010XL takes you inside the program director's office with Dan and Jeff.
I don't like your style,
The Drill,
your politics, or your sense of humor.
Mornings.
I don't like what you say or how you say it.
On 1010XL.
Blah, 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 blah.
It's May, and that means it's Founders Month here at Sonny's Barbecue. Every Wednesday, we're celebrating with $7 pork big deal served with a sidekick and a drink, or one of our pork and rib combos for just $11. It's our way of saying thanks for letting us be your local pitmasters. So stop in for great deals on the Q you crave. Founders Month specials at Sonny's Barbecue. Local pitmasters since '68.
Are you 18 years or older, just got married, just got divorced, or have children? Listen up. Have you done your last will and estate planning? If you have questions, call Matt Hinson with the Hinson Law Firm. Reach him at 527-1700. Office is Jacksonville, Florida. And don't let the state decide your fate.
This is Mark Nato. My son Justin injured his hand playing baseball for JU. Southeast orthopedic specialist performed surgery just a few days later, and within 5 weeks, he was cleared to play in the ASUN baseball tournament. Our family has trusted Southeast orthopedic specialists for years. For any orthopedic injury, let Southeast orthopedic specialists take care of you too.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast orthopedic specialists.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Duck Rooter is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When you need help with any plumbing, septic, or AC issue, just give us a call and relax. We'll send one of our first-round draft picks to tackle your problems today. DuckDuckRooter.com. That's DuckDuckRooter.com.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative, letting you know that Hardball now offers web stores, so your employees can order their own branded gear, and you have more time for Wordle. Check it out at HardballCreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball.
Don't miss the Bari Breakdown with Dr. George Bari on XL Primetime, Wednesdays around 3:20 for the latest in sports injuries. From all the big names in the game, who's MIA, who's coming back from injury. Dr. George Bari on XL Primetime, Wednesdays at 3:20.
Attention golfers, Hidden Hills Golf Club is an attractive destination for golfers all over the Southeast. You too will enjoy our classic Arnold Palmer design that will test your game and keep you coming back. Book a tee time at hiddenhillsgc.com.
What is the smallest NFL stadium? The answer coming up.
When you file a claim with Southern Oak Insurance, we schedule one of our trusted vendors to work directly with you, which means a faster claim resolution. Find out more at southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
Soldier Field in Chicago is not only the smallest, but is also the oldest, built originally in 1924.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
If you're heading to the Og or you're already part of the nation's oldest, don't forget to drop into Sunset Grill. For over 30 years, serving up great chowder, seafood, wings, and cold beer. Sunset Grill, somewhere on A1A, St. Augustine Beach.
This is Greg Huntington, a.k.a. The Mangler. I'm on the winning team at Waste Management. WM is the largest sustainability company in North America. If your business needs sustainable environmental services for waste removal and recycling collection, then you can count on the industry leader of WM to deliver results. Your services will be completed in a timely, safe, and eco-friendly manner. Go to WM.com/Duval. That's WM.com/Duval and get signed up today. If anyone can talk trash, it's The Mangler.
Join us at Miller Electric May 29th from 4 to 7 p.m. We're on the lookout for talented people, from entry level to experienced electricians and foremen, security system installation and service technicians, fire alarm system service technicians, and both senior and junior VDV technicians. This is your chance to get hired on the spot. Meet the managers, indulge in delicious food, and snag some awesome giveaways. Don't miss out on this electrifying chance to power up your career. Miller Electric, May 29th, 4 to 7 p.m., 6805 South Point Parkway.
Grow your hair back. IHRS offers the latest technology in hair transplants and restorative treatments.
Fast, easy, and effective.
With over 35 years' experience, our team is committed to delivering exceptional results. Hair restoration is for us, and it can be for you too.
See how IHRS technology can grow your hair back. Go to hairforme.com or call 904-777-IHRS, 777-4477 for $250 off.
What does your dream backyard look like? Hey, it's Joe C. and my friends at CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living can design an outdoor kitchen layout custom built to your taste and lifestyle. You dream it, they can build it. CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living. Visit cssoutdoor.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Taylor Dahl, Mia O'Brien, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. Thanks again to our terrific guest, Mattie Hudach from Tulane, talking all things Caleb Ranson, Malik Zaire, former Notre Dame quarterback, on Jack Kaiser, and of course the Jaguars in general. Time now for our Terminix Pest of the Day, as always brought to you by our friends at Terminix. You can find them online at Terminix.com, Terminix.com. It is about to be full-on mosquito season, so if you don't want mosquitoes in your yard, definitely have them come out, give you a free inspection, and then they can give you regular treatments to treat your yard and make sure that you do not have to deal with those awful mosquitoes. I certainly didn't want to. That's why we've already had Terminix come out and take care of that. All right. Tyrese Halliburton's dad, John.
Oh, no.
He's the pest of the day.
Oh, no.
I think it's a fairly obvious one. After the Bucks lost in overtime last night, 119-118 to the Pacers, John comes up to none other than one of the nicest guys in the NBA, and Giannis, and accosts him basically. And of course, Tyrese has to say post-game that he doesn't think what his dad did was right. And Giannis had to also say, coming up to me and disrespecting me and cursing at me, I think that's totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. That's because it is totally unacceptable. Be an adult, act like an adult. Don't go up to anyone, especially when they just lost the series in overtime, and curse at them. It's so rude. I'm not here for it. And just act better, act classier.
You forgot the part where they blew an 8-point lead with 40 seconds to go. Sorry, that has no bearing on the situation. Just wanted to make sure we got that on the record.
Yeah, I mean, they were up 7 with, 40 seconds. It's an unfortunate way for the season to end for them. And now, obviously, everyone thinks Giannis is going to land elsewhere as far as being on another team next season. But he has won it all, and that's not something that Tyrese Haliburton can say at this point in time.
Yeah, I wonder, it's just, we've had this conversation now with dads and being too much in the lives of their
mom agents, dad hype men.
I don't think we've had any mom issues. I think it's all been
no.
dad
Zach
issues.
Wilson's mom does exist, so
yeah, that's been a few years now.
Yeah, there has been Jaden Daniels' mom has been a thing.
Oh yeah, the whole thing
times.
with Juju.
She's like a super hover mom and won't let him sit by women at basketball games and shows up
She
to
might be
weddings to watch him dance and too much. Hover mom, don't be that.
Those vibes though, that's what this is.
Yeah, it is, and that's the mom version of that. Like that is the dad's gonna go and like scream in someone's face and cuss them out. The mom's gonna make sure that no girl can talk to the son because that's like the protective side of the mom. But I do think that it's just at some point you've got to realize that you're affecting your kid's reputation more than anything at that point, because that's what people are going to be focusing on, that situation, is the player and not you. Yeah, you're going to get mocked because you're the father, but you're affecting your child at that point.
Great segue, Taylor, because Tyrese Haliburton earlier this week was voted by players in the NBA as one of the most overrated players in the league. And so I would think that his dad took some issue with that, and maybe this was kind of letting out some frustration. Now, should you be going around picking fights? No. Especially as an adult, as a father.
And you're going to lose that fight to Giannis.
Yes,
probably.
We're probably
going to
lose
fight with someone that you can't win the fight over that.
Right, but point being, I think this was the Haliburton family letting out a lot of internal frustration. Also, I mean, credit to Tyrese. Hell of a play.
Yeah,
epic game. Shout out to the Pacers. That the electricity was felt all the way here in Duval County from up there in Indianapolis. They're an easy team to root for, even if a lot of people, for whatever the reason, maybe the text line, the Heeligans, who are NBA fans, maybe you guys, RJ, you tell us. You host Open Gym every Sunday, our NBA show here on 1010XL. Do people view the Pacers as lovable? Do they view Tyrese Haliburton as someone that they should root for? Or is it truly, he's overrated, he's a meme, we're done with him?
I don't think he's overrated in the slightest. It almost feels like I can't get a gauge on him, to be honest with you. I think he's a great player. I don't think he's a ish talker. I understand this is PG radio, but I don't think he's like a trash talker. When he tries to talk trash, I want to laugh. I just think it's funny. But when I look at the Pacers as well, they seem like a team that's always under the radar to me. There hasn't been a team. They haven't not been a team, in my opinion, that has given you that. Here come the Pacers. But it seems to me that I think a lot's going to be said in the next round against Cleveland. I do think they have a couple of matchups where they can either hang with Cleveland or take advantage in some ways against the Cavs. But when I look at the Indiana Pacers, I don't want to say quasi the Atlanta Hawks, where they had Joe Johnson, Al Horford, Marvin Williams,
or even the 1 year blip with Trae Young and Kevin Huerter. That brief
just
little
a team
spell.
that's in the playoffs every year. When I say like that Atlanta Hawks team, you're in the playoffs every year.
Oh, you're saying it from that perspective.
You're not a championship contender. No, you're.
You mean like the Orlando Magic from the 2010s? The late 2010s, like before they tore it all down, and then in order to get the number one overall pick to get Paolo Banchero.
The Atlanta Hawks, from the respect of you were in the playoffs every year, but you're going to lose to a team like the Cavs. Mm-hmm. You're going to lose to a team like,
right.
I
mean, it's what people are arguing right now. Whoever wins the Pistons or the Knicks series, that they're just going to get throttled by the Celtics.
I don't believe that.
I don't either, especially after what I saw last night and what I've seen through 5 games. So this is encouraging. I'm glad that that's the case on a different note.
Although the New York Knicks, at least in my opinion, you have Karl Anthony Towns, you have Mikal Bridges, and that's still a team to me that's and I'm literally sitting and watching those games and saying, am I really saying that the New York Knicks need more than just Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, and Mikal Bridges? So, to bring it home with the Indiana point, I love Tyrese. I think Tyrese is a lovable, corny guy who happens to be really good at basketball, and that's not a bad thing for him. I think if he tries to act any tougher than what he is, it's kind of laughable. I mean, you look at that Indiana Pacers team until you get to the NBA Finals, and I'm looking at you saying you're a serious contender. Holler back at me in October.
Go ahead, Taylor.
This is a tad off topic, but just by the way this postseason is going so far, is the play-in a problem?
It doesn't need to happen.
Everybody's getting dominated pretty much, other than the Warriors.
I mean,
it doesn't need to exist.
It's the same argument with the play-in game in the NCAA tournament of like the fact that everything went chalk this year and it was 4 1 seeds, and on the women's side it was 3 1 seeds and a 2 seed. Like I would argue it's the same thing. I would like to believe, RJ, tell me if I'm wrong. Like I would like to believe there's more parity in the league, personally, that there is a chance that a team from the play-in game could make it all the way to a conference finals.
I think we've only seen it once with the Heat, right?
Right.
Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, it seems like a waste of time.
Especially this year. I just feel like outside of the Warriors, everybody's losing by 30.
Right.
That were in the play.
Right. And it's the Warriors. And so it's kind of like the Heat, where it's kind of like in football, to give you an NFL analogy, it's like the Chiefs. The Chiefs can be the 4th division seeded winner, and it doesn't matter. They're going to find a way to the conference title game.
To bring the conversation full circle, some people might say that they wish Bill Belichick's mom was still alive because she might be able to intervene,
step in
and tell him that he needs to get away from his girlfriend, Jordan Hudson. And so that's maybe where Jaden Daniels' mom is just trying to make sure that no women like her come into Jaden's life. We've got one segment to go. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Hear the big moments and game-changing plays.
That is another pick six. Touchdown, Jacksonville.
Your home for the most play-by-play is 1010XL.
Are you ready to step up to luxury?
Check out the power of our exciting 2025 lineup, including the Lyric, IQ, Optique, and the stunning Vistique.
With over 15 electric Cadillacs in stock and more on the way, it's the perfect time to trade in your Tesla and embrace luxury with a twist.
At Randy Marion, there are no tariffs. So visit Randy Marion Cadillac on Southside Boulevard, Jacksonville, and see why our electric lineup turns heads.
Don't miss out. Drive Cadillac, electric or gas. We have both. Plus tax tag title $9.99 admin fee and resist all on approved credit.
If you suffer from constant burning, tingling, or numbness in your hands or feet, it could be a serious condition called neuropathy. I'm Dr. Nathan Riddle, DC with Riddle Wellness in Ponte Vedra. Neuropathy is treatable, and we have seen great results by using state-of-the-art, non-invasive therapies to target damaged nerves, reduce symptoms, and improve nerve function. Call 904-395-5598 to schedule your free consultation today and learn how you can live pain-free. Call 904-395-5598.
When it comes to your utility bill, JEA wants to help you use less so you can save more. We offer a variety of free programs, like efficiency and irrigation assessments that'll teach you ways to conserve energy and water around your home. Our alerts will let you know when your utility usage has reached a set amount, and our rebates can help you save when upgrading to more efficient appliances and equipment. Find even more ways to save at JEA.com.
Helmets and Heels. Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost for the books and the course fees, about $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by May 15th.
Beat the spring cleaning rush and call our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. This month, get Zero Resified and take 25% off all services. Visit ZeroResJacksonville.com and tell them Hicken or 1010XL sent you.
Zero Res.
Get more Gators on the Gator Bites podcast presented by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists with new episodes every Friday. Subscribe and listen by searching for 1010XL's Gator Bites podcast wherever you find podcasts and at 1010XL.com.
These days, it feels like everyone is talking about how the American dream of homeownership has become out of reach for so many of us. Well, Rocket is trying to give us more of a chance to own our homes. They're making homeownership simpler and more accessible to more people, turning renters into owners. Rocket believes that every one of us deserves a shot at the American dream. So, are you ready? Own the dream. Visit Rocket.com. That's rocket.com.
It's your main man ET, and Monday is Cinco de Mayo at Twin Peaks with a costume party on May 5th. Specials on tequilas, cervezas, and even wine. And I'm hearing the servers are going to bring the spicy costumes too. Twin Peaks for Cinco de Mayo, where the party gets spicy.
Been in a car crash? I'm local attorney Rick Alexander, and I've made it our mission at the Alexander Law Practice to listen to you so I can fight for the best possible result for you. I've been practicing over 30 years, and our team focuses on guiding you through the entire process. And because fees and reimbursement costs come out at the end of the case, I will never ask you to come out of pocket. For a free review, call 904-400-6600 or log on to alexanderlawpractice.com, Jacksonville.
I'm Liz Gruby, the Jacksonville Business Journal's events director, and on May 15th, we're shining a spotlight on young professionals who are boldly leading the way in business and making our major impact in our community. I'd love for you to join us for our 40 Under 40 Awards as we celebrate these up-and-comers and their achievements. Don't miss this inspiring afternoon of networking and celebration. Tickets are going fast. You have to get them before May 6th. And for more information and tickets, visit jbjevents.com.
Hacker here, taking you back exactly 1 year this week. I was only 9 weeks into Awaken 180 and had already dropped 54 pounds. Seriously, that's like shedding a first grader in just over 2 months. That's wild, right? Fast forward to today, 2 months into my maintenance, and I'm still down over 115 pounds. Not a pound put back on. It's like Awaken 180 gave my weight a permanent eviction notice. Now listen up. We all want to have goals, but sometimes they seem to be far-fetched. This one won't be. Dropping 40 pounds by the 4th with Awaken 180. It's doable when you have a proven program with an excellent coach by your side. Weekly weight loss, enjoying the ride, and reaching your goal. We all did it. No reason you can't. Set your goal, make the call, and reach 40 by the 4th with the solution for weight loss. Online at awaken180weightloss.com or call 844-346-1800.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the Cool Down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
Yes, we know there's some Heeligans who are concerned about the well-being of Bill Belichick. I'm sure we'll circle back to that as we cool down on this fine Wednesday on Helmets and Heels. We mentioned the Boston Celtics. We didn't mention that they defeated the Orlando Magic last night, 120-89. RJ, as our resident NBA analyst here at 1010XL, look, for me, and I alluded to this in the previous segment, this idea of the Orlando Magic traded away Aaron Gordon. They traded away Vukovic because the enemy of great is good. And they felt that they were good enough to be a 7th or an 8th seed in the Eastern Conference, but they weren't in that upper echelon. The hope was that with Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner healthy just a couple months ago, they could break into that upper echelon. Obviously, injuries derailed the second half of the season. The fact that they were hanging with the Celtics, it felt like every single game in this series was tied at half, and then ultimately the Celtics' talent just overpowered Orlando in the second half of ball games. What do you make of where the Magic go from here?
Soft season is critical. For a team that wasn't able to shoot league average from distance this season, and really the only signing in which you made was Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and then I think you're just putting some Band-Aids on the issue with re-signing guys like Gary Harris. You also bring in a guy like Jet Howard, who you had drafted a couple drafts ago. I believe they really do believe in him. You also have Caleb Houston, who in spurts can do a couple of things, but I think two things for the Orlando Magic. Well, three. One, you need to get healthy. I do believe that the series is a lot different if you do have Jalen Suggs as well as Mo Wagner in the lineup. I do believe some things go a little bit differently, not saying that you win the series, but I do believe that the way and the trajectory in which Paolo Banchero was going to start the year, this would have been a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference. However, you do need to sign 3-point shooters, and I do believe that you also need another scorer. Now, whether you want to have that off the bench or if you want to implement that in the starting lineup, Jeff Weltman, you have to get that done. And if Jeff Weltman's being called a guy that isn't on the phone asking, about guys such as Cameron Johnson from Brooklyn, to use as an example, and really not accepting calls for anyone because he's just so in love and enamored with the draft picks in which he has. You're going to see a team like the Orlando Magic, who are going to be, a top team in the Eastern Conference, but when it comes to knocking down the long ball, you are going to have problems. And when you have playmakers such as Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, getting to the basket, if teams close on them, they should have guys in which they trust to be able to kick out and knock the wide open 3 down. So critical offseason for the Orlando Magic. Excited to see what happens. I mean, all things considered, you still made the playoffs, and you held your own in, a few games with the Boston Celtics before ultimately that championship pedigree took over in the final moments of contest. We especially saw that in game 4 of this series. So, yeah, I mean, not the way that you wanted it to end, but I understand that a lot of things got in the way of that. So let's see what they do this summer and next season.
So to give it a Jaguars analogy, ladies, sign the third edge rusher. Don't go 2 off seasons with just saying, well, we're going to bank on development. Just go sign 3-point shooters. Just go sign an edge rusher. It doesn't have to be harder than it looks.
Yeah, like sign people. Once you have a decent season, don't just stay.
We're going to bank on development.
Yeah.
We have all these young guys. They're all going to grow.
And 10 o'clock tonight, RJ will be locked in as the Minnesota Timberwolves take on the Lakers in L.A. Timberwolves lead that series 3-1. Good luck with that, RJ. Tonight, after the Magic last night, I would like for you not to have to go back-to-back with losses, but we shall see. All right, earlier I mentioned rookie quarterbacks, but then we ended up having Malik Zaire join us, so I want to get to that now. We have, I think, some really fun quarterback battles. I think that's going to be a major storyline for the NFL this season. We'll start with, of course, the Tennessee Titans, Cam Ward, Will Levis. To me, I think there's no question, based off of watching Will Levis both in college at Kentucky and now through the first few seasons with the Titans, to me, Cam Ward wins that battle.
Also, just the sheer body language on Brian Callahan and this idea of can he extend his leash in Nashville? Yes, Cam Ward will be the starter.
But they have said, they obviously have the
battle.
The Titans brass has said we are not naming anyone a starter right now, and that they do want a true competition. That's what they're telling us.
Yeah.
But to me, there's just based off of watching Cam Ward too at 2 different places in college. I didn't watch him at Incarnate Ward. I think he's going to, I don't know that he's going to be a really good NFL quarterback, but I think he's definitely way better than Will Levis.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just saw way too many. And there was already a lot of criticisms of Will Levis coming out of the draft into the NFL and concerns, I guess let me say concerns. But the last year really exposed a lot of things for Will Levis. There was a lot of bad decision making, and unfortunately for him, it turned into a lot of viral moments and pictures because of his reaction in the bad decision making after he made those. But it just never felt like it got any better, and that's the issue. We've seen quarterbacks struggle early on when it comes to rookie seasons and even sophomore seasons, but usually you start seeing, or you at least have glimpses in games where you're like, okay, this feels like the things are slowing down a little bit for him. If anything, it felt like things got faster for Will Levis throughout the season, and it just never looked like he was comfortable whatsoever.
But he did land his team the number 1 overall pick because the Titans did lose twice to the Jaguars. So at least for the Titans fans, not that we care about them at all, but they were able to land Cam Ward. So Jackson Dart went 25th overall to the Giants. And then, of course, the other 2 guys there, Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. My guess is Russell Wilson starts the season.
Yes,
yeah,
same.
I would say,
which is upsetting for this show.
Yeah,
because we root for Jameis on this program. But I mean, look, ultimately, the Pittsburgh Steelers saying goodbye to Russ. There's a reason for that. Mm-hmm. He wasn't going to get them over the hump. Yeah, but for the Giants, I do think he will be enough to get them, at the very least, to being a 6 to 8 win organization.
Well, when the Giants had no quarterback on their roster for that little bit of time, fans were saying that was the best quarterback room they've had in a while. So they definitely think that Russell Wilson is definitely past his prime. We know that. And even last year with the Steelers, he had moments where you're like, oh, there's a little bit of old Russ in there somewhere, but not all of it. And I do think that there's still a lot of work to do in that organization in general. They kind of backtracked after Saquon left, but you do have a weapon in a Malik Neighbors that can make things a little bit easier. And we've seen Russell Wilson with really good receivers and how that ends up panning out. So, but yeah, I would guess he's starting. I don't know if I would put money that every single game he would be starting this year, but definitely week 1, I would say Russell Wilson.
I think for sure week 1. The question I have is who's QB2 when week 1 starts for the Giants?
Probably Jameis.
I don't know. I mean, when you take a quarterback in the first round, you obviously believe in his skill set.
But it's also the
I'm rooting for
tantalizing.
Dart personally,
it's the tantalizing potential of what he could be.
Did you hear that? She's rooting for Dart over Jameis Winston.
Yeah, that needs to be put down on the record too.
But I'm with you. Jameis is a fun character. He's not a good quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason he's bounced around as much as he has. And some would say, well, Russell's bounced around a lot too the last few years, and he has.
Maybe trade bait
for Jameis.
Yeah. I mean, the thought is you bring Jameis in, and he's the backup in case you don't if you don't draft a quarterback.
The board doesn't
That's
fall
what I was
to
thinking.
you.
Right. And so now you can flip him if a team has a quarterback injury, God forbid, in August. And
everybody says he's a good guy to have in the room to be behind, even to not be starting. Like in Jameis's head, he's not he's kind of past that. Like, I'm a starting quarterback. He would tell you he could start, but he's completely comfortable sitting behind and learning and help guys just kind of get used to the NFL and get used to the locker room and all of that type of thing.
We referenced Derek Carr earlier in New Orleans. Who starts week 1 there? Is it Tyler Shuck? Over
think
maybe Jameis. Maybe
Jameis goes back
maybe
to
Kirk Cousins, because yikes.
Yeah, that one, I mean, it doesn't seem like Derek Carr, even if they think he can't, like, physically wise because of his injury, I'm not sure he'll be ready. I
it
truly
seems
don't.
like a divorce is coming between the Saints and Derek Carr, is how it feels, at least to me. But Tyler Shuck was taken, obviously, 40th overall there, so early in the second round. They certainly believe that he is pro ready. Now, the question is, how quickly can he had some injuries in college, how quickly can he master that playbook and get on the same page with, those guys? I would like to think that he might be the starting quarterback.
So on the Athletic Football Show yesterday, they had Field Yates on, they just did the sheer math of quarterbacks drafted after round 2. And I know Tyler Shuck was drafted in the second round, but we can include round 2. We can throw Geno Smith out there. Name me quarterbacks right now who were not drafted in the first round of the NFL draft, who are currently considered in the top, let's say, 20 quarterbacks in the National Football League right now.
Hurts.
Yeah,
Jalen Hurts was a second round pick.
Mm-hmm. Russell Wilson's not probably a top 20 quarterback anymore,
but he was
at one point
third round pick. Yep. Mm-hmm. Dak Prescott, fourth round pick.
Although I wouldn't put Dak in the top 20 quarterbacks. Sorry, Dak.
Anymore.
Yeah.
I would. I think he's still there. He's 2 years. He's 2 years removed from an MVP campaign. So I think he's
20. I would probably
top 20. This is Brock Purdy.
Yep.
Brock Purdy's a 7th round pick. We could throw Geno out there just for the sake of the argument. 2nd round pick. Kirk Cousins, once upon a time, 4th round pick. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's literally it. And so that's why history is not even on the side of Tyler Shuck, despite the fact that they took him in the 2nd round.
Yeah, I honestly, when I was doing a lot of my draft podcasts, a lot of people had him as their number 2 quarterback in this draft from people I was talking to. So there's definitely some indications and qualities that they like out of him. But to your point, Lauren, how quickly is he catching on to things? Because we also have heard this story of you can ruin a quarterback quick, too, if you throw him out there before he's ready. And we've seen that multiple times. But I wish I could find the tweet right now, because I did have a tweet probably like a month and a half ago of, I want to say it was like 11 of the 14 playoff teams, the quarterbacks were first round quarterbacks. And so we are in that, not saying they're all good, because that's including some that maybe some people would exchange if they could. Yeah. And so, these were playoff teams, so I'm trying to think of, because when did Goff was, I'm trying to go through everybody. I wish I'll find the tweet eventually. But yeah, so I do think that there's a chance, but I do think those are guys that usually you're hoping can sit a little bit and develop without getting kind of just thrown into the whirlwind of everything.
Well, it's fascinating because just 5 years ago or so, like prior to COVID, you didn't have quarterbacks coming into the league at age 24 or 25 having played 6 or 7 seasons. Like Tyler Shuck played 7 seasons in college.
It's a lot of college football.
Right. So does that prepare them better for the NFL, or because they got so used to the speed of the college game, are they then expecting the speed to be the same in the NFL, and it's obviously not going to be? I find that fascinating. Like, we used to have, obviously, Trevor Lawrence is an example, like drafted in the NFL before you're even 22 years old. There's a lot of guys like that. And now we have this other shift of guys that, like Cam Ward, certainly played a ton of football.
Yeah.
And, all right, so last one, the Seahawks have, of course, Sam Darnold and Jalen Milroe. The Seahawks have said that they're not going to use Jalen Milroe like Taysom Hill. He was taken 92nd overall. But he will get on the field and throw the football.
I think the better comp is Justin Fields in Chicago the first 5-6 weeks of his rookie year, where there were packages for him.
Yeah.
But he was not the starting quarterback. And I think that unless something dramatic happens, that will be the case for Jalen Milroe his first 2 seasons. And that is because of the guaranteed money that was given to Sam Darnold. And ultimately, your hope is because, to your earlier point, Lauren, because Jalen Milroe is still 21 years old, because he's a younger rookie, this idea of, okay, we have packages for him for 2 years. If behind the scenes, much like with Jordan Love in Green Bay, we deem he's ready, then we can trade Sam Darnold. Because the hope is that Sam Darnold is your quarterback for the next 2 years.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that, especially coming off the season he had, and even with the last couple games of, okay, maybe Sam Darnold was exposed in some ways. And I think a lot of people are going to say, well, he also had Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, and how much did that factor into him being able to do what he did? But I also think that last year he went from the best, if not one of the best left tackles in the NFL. And when he got hurt, got put with not one of the best, Cam Robinson, who was the worst left tackle when it came to pressures allowed against him, and still was able to put up really good numbers in that last 5-6 stretch of games. So I do think he's proven himself enough to be able to say, okay, I don't have to be in the absolute perfect environment. I just need a little bit of help around, and I can do enough to win some games.
Yeah, tomorrow we'll get into the Browns quarterback situation a little bit more, as well as the Steelers, because we didn't even have time to get to those.
I promised we'd circle back to Billy B. And here is Matt Hayes right on cue.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. CoolCatsJacks.com.
The coolest cats in town.
No, not you, Billy, on the text line. I am talking about Bill Belichick. What the hell is happening
Matt Hayes
in
said,
North
"Who's
Carolina,
Billy
Matt
B?"
Hayes? Like, what is happening with Belly? Like, I mean... what is going on? Like, first, now we hear this report of the reason Hard Knocks the plug got pulled the day after it was announced is because of the girlfriend. The girlfriend is...
We all thought the most embarrassing thing was his girlfriend basically showing who wears the pants. You know, when she said, we're not talking about that.
Yeah.
That's just like, it's the iceberg. It's the surface, and then way underneath, you got a lot more blooming or brewing or whatever you want to call it. It's not...
I mean, what are you hearing from North Carolina? Like, what does North Carolina think of all this?
I don't have any doubt that they're a little concerned. How could you not be a little concerned? First off, he calls his 24-year-old his muse. His muse. She's 24, Bill. That's his muse. So if I were North Carolina, I'd immediately be thinking, all right, well, if she controls that, and she controls that, and she controls that, because we've had 3 things we've seen now that she's controlling. What else is she controlling? What else is this 24-year-old muse who has been on the practice field during spring practice in a sequined robe, no less? What else is she doing? So if I was North Carolina, I'd just thrown tens of millions of dollars at him, at his coaching staff, another tens of millions into the NIL fund. Don't you got to be thinking, like, what the hell's going on?
So you're throwing more money.
That's perfect right there.
You want to throw more money at it then?
No, I want to say you might have to start cutting bait here at some point. I mean, that's, wow.
So Kevin asked me this last night, and I'm curious y'all's take. He was like, what do you think Steve, his son, the defensive coordinator, what does he think of all of this?
I don't think he cares.
I get a job soon?
Right, he wants the job. I don't think he cares.
Keep going, Dad.
Right, the bigger question is, what does the locker room think? Because you've got 85 players who they're, look, and let's be honest with young people, and I'm all for it. I don't have problems at all. Their life is their phone. Their life is social media. he's getting destroyed on social media right now. And they've also seen that. They also saw that clip of her.
Yeah.
They
How much
saw
are they
her in that road.
screenshotting and sending to each other like, yo,
Yes.
coach?
I mean, he's the guy who was this big, bad Bill Belichick, my way or the highway. And now it's like, who is this guy that's coaching us?
Somebody reminded me yesterday on the text line, Matt, that when they announced the hiring of Bill Belichick, that I said, I have a feeling this may be the reverse of Urban coming to Jacksonville, Bill going back to college.
Interesting.
I forgot I said that until someone was like, Taylor, didn't you say this when this happened? I was like, oh.
You know what's interesting is he's been out of the NFL too. He went through 2 cycles of NFL hires and no one hired him. No one hired the best coach in the history of the NFL. No one hired him. So either everybody thinks Tom Brady's the reason, which they don't, or there's something else going on.
Because
and that something else may be the 24-year-old muse that nobody wants to deal with.
Which I just had a source text me and say that he has at the very least been in the same stratosphere universe as this muse since 2023, which he was.
Well, they've been dating for 2 years.
Right, which he was relieved, parted ways, fired. I know it's very hotly contested on CBS in terms of how exactly Robert Kraft, the Patriots, and Bill Belichick parted ways.
I mean, honestly.
That was in January of 2024.
He's 71 and she was 22.
All right, Matt,
more power to him.
What's coming up? We have to get out of
Can
here.
we not talk about it? We're going to talk about it.
You can talk about it on your show.
We're going to get into belly on this. Yeah, we're going to talk NFL, of course, the Jags, and we're going to go into the second semifinal of Leon's Sweet 16 of the greatest college football team ever. Today is 2019 LSU against 2001 Miami.
Ooh, sounds good.
The winner
Thank you.
plays 2008 Florida.
Yeah, I heard that yesterday. Awesome.
All right, ladies.
I thought the most famous muse was Erykah Badu, who inspired the Outkast song Miss Jackson. But clearly, move over, Erica.
Miss Jordan is here.
Hudson is here. For Mia O'Brien, for Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. These deals are made for talking. We will talk to you tomorrow. Don't go anywhere. XL Primetime comes up next.